Let's take a look at the start level function, and this is the area right here where we are defining the locations of all of the objects in our game. And I know that mine is pretty simple, but many of you have probably already made your levels more complex than mine. And as we go forward, trying to make levels that scroll and have multiple levels where each level is different is going to be a problem if we're going to include all of the level data in the code itself. So in this video, what I would like to do is show you how we can take all of this data out and move it into an external level file. And therefore, all we'll have to do is put a couple lines of code here that load that new file instead. And then we'll make some tiny modifications down here to deal with how the data is imported from that file. And by the end of this video, we'll be set up really nicely to have a game with multiple levels and side scrolling. All right, so I am going to move out of the way and get started building the level file. So the first thing I'm going to do is open up a text editor. You can use any text editor you want. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code, and I'm going to and to get started here, I'm just going to go ahead and take all of this information out, and I'm just going to cut it, and I'm going to paste it over here. And I'm going to go back to my code, and I'm just going to make a little note to myself, and I'll say load level file here, just so I don't forget where I'm supposed to put it. All right. And so the format we're going to use is something called JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation. And even though we're not writing in JavaScript, it really doesn't matter. It's a really wonderful, easy to read format that pretty much any computer language supports. So it may have started in JavaScript, but it's everywhere now. And so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start my file off with the curly brace. So these are the ones like above the quote key. And I'm going to end it with a curly brace. I'm going to leave all this indented. And then I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to have to start formatting each of these little blocks the same. So I'm going to change my start and put that word in quotes. And then I'm going to do a colon. And then when I have a list here in the JSON file format, angle brackets aren't allowed. So I'm going to change that to square brackets. And then I'm going to do a comma, and I'll take my grass lokes and do the same thing, put it in quotes, do a colon. And then I guess I can just do a find replace here. Actually, we'll just kind of go through. We'll get the block lokes, and I'll change that to a colon. And let's see, I need a comma after that. I need a comma after that. Gem lokes goes in quotes, colon, and I need a comma after that line. Spike ball, colon. Cloud lokes, replace the equal sign with the colon, and finally with the flag lokes, and we'll replace the equal sign with a colon. And then we need to make sure at the end of each chunk here, so at the end of start, grass lokes, block lokes, gem lokes, let's see, spike ball lokes, I need a comma, a comma, a comma. And we're not allowed to have comments in this JSON file, so we'll get rid of that. Okay, and I could just go ahead and tighten this up a little bit. So now the next thing I want to do is JSON files are not allowed to have curly braces in them at all. And so I'm just going to go up to the replace in files function, and I'm going to take the opening curly brace and replace it with the opening square bracket. And then I'll click this little button for replace all. And then I'll do the same thing with the closing curly brace, and we'll replace it with a closing angle bracket, and I'll hit replace all. All right, so this is going to be our new level format. And so now I'm going to go ahead and save it, and I will go to save as, and I'm going to navigate to my platformer game, and assets, levels. So I've got all these different things. The levels is unused so far. And I'm going to save this file as world1.json. So the file extension, I realize in the video it might be kind of tiny here, but the file name I did world-1.json. JSON is the file extension for JSON files. And so we'll save that. Okay. And hopefully I don't have any errors in here, but it probably looks okay. And actually, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit more formatting to make this easier to read. I'm going to hit enter here and here. And let's let me just back that up. And let's see, I'll hit enter here, and I'll back this up, and hit enter there. And I think this is going to be a little bit easier to read. So let's see. I like how that looks. Okay, the spacing does not matter in this file, so I'm just going for ease of read. So I got my grass lokes, and then I'm listing them all right here, and my block lokes, and I'm listing them all here. These I have broken into lines kind of by platforms, but I could list them out like this if I wanted to save some space. If I want to add some more gems or enemies to my game, all I have to do is extend the list right here. So we'll put one at 5,7 just so you can see. And so the last one, you just look at like the last one does not have a comma after it because it's before the curly brace, right? So here's our format. So I've got this saved in my assets folder. You'll see it right now. There's my world1 JSON file. Okay, so let me minimize this, and we'll go into the code. And now where it says load the level up file, I got to do an import first. Okay, so we're going to use this JSON file format. So I'm going to go up here and add a line that says import JSON. And then we'll go back to the load level area. And I'm going to say with open. And we'll do the file path, which is assets/levels/world 1.json, and I'll say as f. And don't worry if this, we're opening a file with this line of code. This is probably not one that a lot of people would memorize. This is one you look up as you need it. So if you haven't done this before, it's okay if you don't understand exactly what's happening, why it's structured this way. And so I'm going to read it now, and I'm going to say the data from the file, and I'll just say f .json, or I'll say data equals JSON load, and then in parentheses f. And so with this one line of code, what's happening is this data variable now has all of the information from this file right inside of it. And so now we're just going to go ahead in here and make some modifications to this so that we're pulling from the data variable rather from lists that we no longer have. And so, right, so when we go into the flag lokes, right, all I have to do is say data, and then when we look in the data file, right, in quotes we have flag lokes, so I am going to paste flag lokes right here. And in here, let's see, in the JSON file, I kept it the same. I used grass lokes, so I will just say data, and then in quotes, grass lokes, and we'll do the same thing for all of these. So we'll do it for block lokes, gem lokes, spike ball lokes, cloud lokes, and let me do the closing curly braces, and I'm just going to copy and paste those. Right, so that took care of all that. Oh, let's say I didn't deal with the start location right here. And so, here's my, let's see, the start 0 and the start 1. And in the data, we've got a start area. So it's going to be data. And then in brackets, we'll do start. Okay, we're not going to need the quotes. It'd be start 0. And then, because the first ordered pair that's start 0. And then this will be start. And actually, I got to fix that. Start 1. Let's see. Yeah, and that should take care of it. So we just had to do slight modifications here, and now we're reading from a file, and let's run it. And there we go, and everything still works exactly the same. So one of the really great things about this, and now hopefully you can see, as if you want to modify the level for your game, one thing nice about modifying the level for your game is you get to go in here and just modify this file, and you're not risking messing up any of your code. The other thing that's going to be really great is as you want to add more levels to your game, all we're going to have to do is copy and paste this file, and we can design a different level. And so, if at some point we modify this start level function to load a different file each time we start a new level, we will be able to play through multiple worlds. All right, so I think I'll end this video here, and I think this puts us in a really nice place um, uh, for expanding the game and making it a lot of fun with scrolling levels and adding lots of levels to our game. All right, I will talk to you later.